You gonna do your story?
Oh yeah.
Hello,
Yes.
Then
we
you know
are
it's gonna be.
live.
Then you
Hello,
know it's gonna be.
everyone.
Then you know it's
Welcome
gonna
to
be a one.
It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes, and they've already started. Hello, Myra. How are you?
I'm doing very well, but not as good as Stephen Hill apparently. So
I
hey,
guess
because
not.
it's
I
gonna
guess
be
not.
one. It's
Uh,
gonna be one today.
Just warming up. Just warming up. That's it. I'm just getting ready. Woo,
okay. Okay.
woo.
Quinn, are you ready for whatever he's warming up for?
I shouldn't have ate Hostess cupcakes then if I knew I needed to.
Quinn is always ready. Quinn is
I'm
always
just so
ready.
plushy and
Quinn
full
is
of
always ready.
love. I just love everybody, and I just hope you have a great time.
We're
Are you
gonna
on
have
a
a
sugar
wonderful.
high?
Say that one more time. You're what?
I'm
What did you
plushy.
say? Plushy? PLUSHY?
Yeah, you know, like a
Plush.
plushy.
Plushy. I
Plushy.
never heard of that. I like that.
like
I
a
like that. I
like
never
a
heard of it.
like a
Plushy.
plush doll,
Like
like
a
a
plush
plush
dog.
animal.
You know.
Well, I've heard of the deviant part, but I've never heard somebody say I'm plushy and full of love. I like that. That's good.
What's the deviant part? Wait a minute.
No, we're not doing this.
Not
No,
deviant.
not this early. Not this early.
Not
This
Not
early.
deviant.
Or
not.
am I thinking about Furbies? Is it Furbies or
Yeah, I like
furries?
Furbies. What
Oh, it's
happened
not
with
plushies. That's never mind. Nope. If you don't know, you don't need to
He
know.
got his dolls confused. It's okay, people.
Furry.
Or his
There's
characters
some
in the
furries
gay
out
world.
there.
I don't know.
Uh,
Myra,
them?
how are you?
I'm,
Got
well, apparently, like I said before, not as well as Stephen Hill. Apparently.
Are you glad that the writers strike is over?
Oh my gosh, yes, and the writers are so for the most very very pleased with the deal, saying that it was well worth it. It was well worth
Was
it.
it worth 145 days?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
because it's 10 years worth of protection for 145 days. Clearly, a great investment for what's going to be a great outcome.
Yeah,
I
Myra,
thought
would
it's
you
a
agree?
4 or 5 year deal.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
whatever the years are, but
yeah,
it'll pay off even past that
yes,
because
yes,
the
yes. They with
capitulations they got. Is that the right word?
it's a pay raise. It's a raise in the residuals in the streaming services, which is a big deal.
Hmm.
It's also a minimum staffing requirement. It's an
In the writer's room.
yes, it's an agreement on how AI is used mutually. So yeah, that part. So yes,
Hey.
writers writers are very happy, but we won't be totally happy until SAG-AFTRA.
And that
Yeah.
and is there any indication that they are at work on that now?
It's my understanding as of today that they don't even have a meeting schedule, but I'm pretty sure the pressure's on now. The
Yeah.
pressure's on. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you got the writers in the rooms and they're doing their jobs, then you got to have and I would think in pretty short order, or at least that's the viewers' hope that in pretty short order, they'll start cranking out the episodes of episodic television and movies, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they've been
Already
down.
late night shows, late night shows coming back. Bill Maher's coming
Yeah.
back.
Bill
Yeah.
Maher's coming back
Uh,
as early as this weekend, and the
yep.
regular late night shows on
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I've been listening to the podcast of the late night hosts. Interesting, not interesting, but it was interesting to hear them talk amongst themselves, and the fact that it was all four old white men talking. It just really interesting there. So, young Quinn, how's school?
It's going good. I'm trying to apply for this grant to take my students to go see this play about Mexican immigrants in DC.
Mm,
So hopefully that gets approved. I'll take them at the end of the month. But I did get asked to teach next semester, and
awesome. Okay.
I'll be teaching it by myself. They want me to teach about Black poetry and Black poetics. And so I'm going to try to marry that because we have this center on campus called the Furious Flower Poetry Center. It's the only center for like African American poetry. So I'm going to try to marry my class like with their events. So like the syllabus is tied in with like poets that you actually get to see perform live. So it's been really, really cool. I'm really excited, really
Very
nervous.
good. Very
But
happy.
Congratulations. That's
Yes.
awesome. I
Absolutely.
thought, it's that time of year. I thought you were going to say, I did get asked to homecoming. I've heard this a number of times.
homecoming is like the most stressful time for administrators because alumni are all coming back And then you also have just like people are on 10, just making sure everybody's safe and everybody is sober and everybody is just like, practicing consent. And we also have we have a yard on campus, even though we're not at HBCU, we do have a yard. So we have step shows and stuff, lots of Greek things. And I'm almost 10 years old in Delta Land, and I'm over strolling. Like I'm over it.
I didn't think that was possible amongst the Deltas. Over strolling.
I'm over strolling. I'm overstepping. I'm very much so. I'm very much so ready to step into my Delta Deer hat and my Delta Deer Nelia, and just be one of the old Deltas on the side, just like, ooh, more like.
But you always have that youthful spirit. When is your Delta anniversary, by the way?
April 14th.
Nice. And this next one will be 10 years?
It'll be 10 years. I crossed spring 2014, my sophomore year. And it's crazy. I was bald then, We
don't know what your hair will be like tomorrow. So
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm seeing Beyonce this weekend, so I'm excited.
Oh, very good.
Cool.
I may see you there. That's right. I forgot about it.
Okay, maybe afterwards we can get some ice cream after this critical conversation. My girlfriend and her mother. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Good collection.
What are you wearing? That's more important.
Okay, I bought this aluminum puffer jacket. I have this crop top, and then I have these cargo pants, and I'm wearing it with some ones. I did look at some hair jewelry that I put my bald head, like stickers. But my girlfriend laughed at me, and so I don't know if I'm gonna so I think I'm gonna leave the silver all down here, not the silver on my head.
Did she hurt your feelings?
Ashley is a Leo like you, Sybil, so she knows how to put in a compliment sandwich that's like, babe, you're so creative. That is
don't need.
I didn't feel hurt, but I did feel like it's not the best decision.
It's not your best look forward.
Exactly. That's how you say it. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, as we are talking, the inimitable Damon Williams is headed to see Beyonce with his wife and friends in New Orleans tonight. And he said, he has determined no silver in his wardrobe whatsoever. But that's Damon. What about you, Stephen Hill? You got some silver?
I do. Would you like to see it? I would like to model it for you if you'd like.
Yes. Yes. You know what?
Aluminum furl. Okay.
But I like it. It's actually an improvement.
Oh.
If you like it, then you put some aluminum on it. If you like something, you put some aluminum.
Put some furl on it.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm getting the notice that we don't have time. We have to move on. Let's talk about.
Want to see my pants and must not want to see my silver pants. All right, later.
Let's take that for after the show. So let us talk about the What You Need to Know newsletter. This is our Monday through Friday newsletter in which we seek to super serve the African American community, stories for and by African Americans. And young Kwynn is our LGBTQ plus contributor. And Kwynn, please talk about the changes that may take place in high school sports for transgender athletes.
Yeah, so when you guys get a chance to read the newsletter, it does cover some updated policies to the Illinois High School Association of Sports. This comes with a wave starting from Idaho back in 2019 before the pandemic of anti-trans legislation that particularly targeted the space of bathrooms and sports. And so instead of what I usually do with reading the article, I wanted to dispel some myths and provide actual factual evidence for why transgender folks should be playing sports. And this is brought to you by the American Civil Liberties Union. You can also find it on the NAACP page and the Human Rights Campaign as well, if you want to go through what I said. So myth number one, the participation of trans athletes hurt cis women. The fact is, including trans athletes will actually benefit.
I'm sorry, once again, remind people what cis women are.
Oh, yes. So cis women, CIS, is for cisgendered women who identify with their sex that was assigned at birth.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with your sexual preference. This is gender identity. So right now I'm talking about gender identity. So for cisgender women, I am a cisgender woman. I was assigned woman at birth and I identify as a woman. Someone who, like we had Morgan on our show, talk about Transgender Day of Remembrance, was born as a man, but they transitioned and now identify as a woman named Morgan.
Got it. Okay.
So the myth: the participation of trans athletes hurts cis women, when the fact is including trans athletes will actually benefit everyone. There is this really huge push to divide cisgender women from transgender women with a scarcity mindset that if sports include transgender women, there aren't many opportunities left for cisgender women to actually be able to compete. And that's just not fair. It's actually very harmful, and it actually is really, really inaccurate. Most of the bills that are targeting transgender athletes are happening between pre-K and 12. And right now, you guys, there are way more bills because, I talk about how there's over 500 anti-LGBTQ bills, but over half of those talk about trans women in sports. There's way more bills that target pre-K through 12 children, trans girls in sports, than there are actually trans girls pre-K through 12. And I think it's very interesting to really estimate the fear mongering and also the hateful tactic that we're telling youth, because for pre-K through 12, I'm not talking about NCAA, I'm not going to go into the Olympics, even though I will go into that later. Pre-K through 12, students are joining that for a sense of belonging. They're joining it for a sense of community. They're joining it for a sense of like building friendships. Everybody wants to be like a cool jock when they're like 5th grade. Everybody wants to go and run sports. So the harm that we're telling youth at that age is that there is such a strong difference, but there also is a disallowance of experiences because you are a trans girl and I am a cisgender girl. The second myth is that trans athletes' physiological characteristics provide an unfair advantage over cis athletes. The fact is, trans athletes do not have an unfair advantage in sports. I say this because when we talk about the medical transitions that transgender women have undergone, which includes surgery, hormone-related therapy, a social transition, the complete like deadening of your name and becoming somebody completely new, does not equate to the womanhood experience, but it does lessen the amount of testosterone, even the amount of testosterone that cisgender women have, right? Like a trans woman has such a decreased level of hormones than even an average cisgender woman that there isn't any type of biological advantage. And if we even want to be more like specific, Michael Phelps, who was an Olympic swimmer, I'm going back to the Olympics now, not youth. He did release some type of lactic acid that helped be a better swimmer that nobody contested. Like it wasn't even a thing that people were just like up in arms about. So we know that bodies are different. There are some cisgender women who cannot produce children, who do not have breasts, who do not have vulvas, ovaries, or anything like that, and who may even have a high amount of testosterone. So including trans women is saying that the definition of woman, the example of being a woman, should be so complex and so multifaceted that actually represents the woman that we see in our everyday lives and not the ones that we stereotypically or characterize as women. Lastly, trans girls are girls. I'll read this quote from Dr. Safer, who worked for the American Civil Liberties Union, who said a person's sex is made up of multiple biological characteristics, and they may not all align as typical male or female in a given person. Further, many people who are not trans can have hormone levels outside the range considered typical of a cis person assigned at their sex. When a person does not identify with the sex they were assigned at birth, they must be able to transition socially, and that includes participating in sports consistent with their gender identity. Excluding trans athletes can be deeply harmful and disruptive to treatment. And that she talked about how she knows from experience that patients who are trying to transition at that age of pre-K through 12, where they're not allowed to actually participate in those sports, can damage their mental health and therefore their physical health. And the only way we can actually see trans adults or even want to support trans adults is if we actually start by supporting them as youth. So if we actually do our due diligence in supporting trans youth, and hopefully we can actually see them blossom into trans adults. That's all I got. So, yeah.
And Stephen Hill?
Yeah, no, that whole there's no physical advantage. I can find you plenty more. For example, the trans women possess multiple advantages over biological males. Now, do I believe there should be a trans category? And this is something we've talked about before. Absolutely. But until, and I've said this on this show before, until a trans let me make it right. Until a trans woman, until a trans man dominates in a male category, like trans women have, at least one trans woman has dominated in the women's category, then it makes no sense to me, because I can find where is it? Oh no, I had it here a second ago. Trans women had greater muscle mass and bone density, which aids strength, power, and durability, plus bigger lungs and higher oxygen levels, which help with the endurance. My only challenge is that there are people who are cisgendered who have trained, and there's literally an example of someone who trained, was horrible when they were a man, and became the number one woman when they trans to women. So again, there is that. I mean, there's just that physical advantage. It's just there. So anything else? But at the same time, I would love to find. We're at the very beginning. So hopefully there'll be categories for trans. It'll go from 2 categories of gender to 4, or if it needs to go beyond that, so that the competition is equal. And so the person who is now number 2 in women doesn't go like, well, I did all that for nothing.
Can we?
There you go.
Hang on one second, Kwynn. I want Myra to be able to jump in here with this too. Go ahead.
I just have a question, because I'm a little confused. When you talked about the transgender, let's say teenager, and you talked about the body changes, but I thought you had said that no youth were getting, people under 18 weren't getting. I know you said the sex.
They weren't getting the medical transition.
The hormonal.
Right, and I was thinking that also included hormones.
Yes.
So then, if they aren't getting the hormone change, then are they still considered trans youth and being able to qualify?
Yeah, so anybody can identify themselves as trans youth, regardless if they're getting a medical transition, because they can also transition socially. And so, from my understanding with the IHSA, with their updated policy, is that they're asking for a reference to confirm that they are transitioning from male to female. They're also asking for an actual birth certificate that lists the change of gender. And then they also are asking for okay, how long have you been transitioning? What's your reason for transitioning? All these type of evasive questions to sort of validate their journey to womanhood is actually kind of probing into their privacy. And so to my understanding, these aren't youth that are seeking medical transitioning. But the argument is that trans girls, regardless if they're socially or medical transitioning, should not be allowed to play on a girls' team or a men's team in pre-K through 12.
Okay.
This is a discussion that is going to require far more time than we have in this segment, obviously. But Kwynn, you've given us a good idea of where the changes are taking place. Still a lot of questions, and Stephen Hill, you're looking at the clock too, so obviously but do you want to wrap this up with a statement or a question for Kwynn?
No.
In just the 2 minutes we have left?
We only
yeah, what's your favorite Beyonce song?
Okay. All right. So thank you for that is a story that you can see in the What You Need to Know newsletter. If you'd like to subscribe, please go to SybilWilkes.com and we'll have it in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. It is absolutely free. You also have other subjects in the newsletter from LGBTQ to politics to social justice to mental health and wellness, physical health and wellness, as well as a yoga corner, if you will, and HBCU corner, as well as little known Black history fact. It is chock full of great information and even a birthday shout out if done correctly. So please take a look, and it makes a great holiday gift as we're getting ready for the holidays, and it won't cost you a thing. Just sign that person up and give them a gift subscription. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should send them, "You're being gifted. Yay." And it didn't cost the gift giver a thing. So please sign up, and we'd love to have you. And we're going to continue this conversation, obviously, as this is Kwynn's area of expertise. So let us, and I'm just going to give you a preview of tomorrow's newsletter, the story that I spent the time working on. And I switched my story in the middle of the morning because it was announced that the African American soldier who ran from South Korea into North Korea in July, he has been released by the North Koreans. They're like, we don't have anything to use him for, so we're sending him back to you. But he was Sweden played a big role in his release, as well as China. And so the Swedes came in, they moved him out of North Korea to China. China allowed him to be there, and then for the Americans to come in and to take him to a nearby U.S. military base. And I really hope for the best for this young man, because there seems to be some issues that have not been dealt with. And I really hope that you'll take a look at this. His name is Travis King, and hopefully a better future than he has had in the past. So
we're not trying to escape the South anymore. First of all, let him know we're not trying to escape the South anymore. That was a couple centuries ago.
Well, he thought there was an underground railroad or something, I think.
I also wish the man well, but when I heard about it this morning, I said, "Don't nobody want us."
Only if you're Dennis Rodman.
Right? They're all like, "Nah, you know what? You take him." I said, "Don't nobody want us there."
It's time for what's really going on, our question of the day, and it was brought to mind by Bruce Springsteen, and the E Street Band have officially postponed the remainder of their 2023 tour dates due to Bruce Springsteen's health. He's been struggling with a peptic ulcer disease. So initially they said 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then we'll be back on the road. Now they're saying no concerts for the remainder of this year. So this made me think, does this announcement make you think that there's an act that you absolutely must see before it's too late? Or you guys may have a suggestion, since Stephen Hill and Myra Day are the concert goers. Do you have a suggestion of a must-see act? And because obviously, if you look at a lot of these people, they're aging. Bruce Springsteen is what, 72, 73. Our friend Eddie Levert is 80 and retired now. Is that official?
I don't think it's quite official.
I'm thinking in terms of an act that you must see, and that is the great Diana Ross. She looks great. She sounds great. But you don't want to end up in a situation like this and say, "Damn, I should have seen her. I wish I had," if you weren't lucky enough to be on the Joyner Cruise a few years ago to see her in that setting. But who is it that you would like to see before it's too late, or that you would recommend to people before it's too late? And Kwynn, this also harkens back to your old school home training. Perhaps, some folks that you grew up listening to that you would like to see before the time. And not only Bruce Springsteen, but I was also thinking about some others that we've lost recently in their 70s, 60s, and 70s. And so I don't want to be a fatalist or anything, but I do want you to think in terms of what's out there, what you would like to see, or who you would recommend. Stephen Hill, are you thinking, or are you?
No, I'm good. It's funny. There's a Mount Rushmore. There's four that I think you should go see. 3 who started their careers in the 60s. They're professional careers in the 60s. 1 in the 50s. The 60s, the Mount Rushmore would be one you mentioned, Diana Ross. You really should go see her. You're stunned by how many songs she has. Number 2 is Smokey Robinson. Go see Smokey Robinson perform. Again, not only does he sing the songs, he wrote almost all of them.
The history, yeah.
Number 3, and those people who were lucky enough to be there on Wednesday on the Joyner Cruise got to see him, Stevie Wonder. Go see Stevie Wonder as soon as you possibly can. And Ronald Isley and the Isleys. Look, I've seen the Isleys. I've literally seen the Isleys in 7, 8, 9, 10, 6 different decades. I personally have seen I saw the Isleys in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah, right. Hundreds, tens, and 20s. Right. I've seen them myself in six different decades. Ron Isley's voice right now is close to its pinnacle. Like, and that's an astonishing thing to say for someone.
Yeah, for who's 80 years old. Yeah.
Right. His first hit was in '59 with Twist and Shout. Yeah. And he's had at least a top 10 hit in like in eight decades. So anyhow, those are that's my Mount Rushmore.
That's a hell of a Mount Rushmore.
Isley, Wonder, Ross, Robinson.
And I would add two more to that. People that you've worked with, Anita Baker. Because I think
she's gonna be around for a while. She's gonna be around for a while.
Well, if I could just make that suggestion. And Patti LaBelle.
well, before you all take everybody that I thought of.
I'm sorry, no. You can add to this, but let me just take a second here to ask the people who are watching and listening. Who is it that you absolutely must see now before they make the announcement that they're not going to tour anymore? Myra?
Gladys Knight.
Yep.
Gladys still sounds wonderful. Yep. Wonderful show. And if you're into this, I'm gonna tell you, Carlos Santana rocks. Okay. Santana is up there, and I tell you, you will not sit down. It is a hell of a show. I highly recommend Santana. So, yeah, and somebody else will come to me since they pretty much ate up the people that I was thinking about. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Duh.
And that's who you just saw this summer.
Yeah, the Elements. I just saw them last month, along with Lionel Richie. Also, great show. Great show. And I think because we are so used to them, we forget, just like Sybil said, these people are in their 70s and 80s. Many of us are not. And we still have challenges getting up, just pulling out the garage in the morning. So the fact that these people still get on stage and give it their all and give you a hell of a show in their 70s and 80s, give them their flowers while they are still here.
And buy the tickets to go see them, because there's nothing. I mean, we can see them on television, we can see them on BT, we can see them on any other the evening, nighttime programs and what have you. But there's nothing like. And I'm not real big on big stadiums these days. That's not my thing anymore. But to see them in person, there's nothing like the live performance. Mm-hmm. Young Kwynn, what do you say?
I think you guys have named all the musical icons, but if I can go to literary icons.
Oh, yes, please do.
That we should see. I think everybody should try to go see Sonia Sanchez.
I thought that would be your first. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the first one I read. I haven't got a chance to see her yet. And I know she's 89. So I would love to go see her. I think everybody should go see Dr. Nikki Giovanni as well.
Yes.
It's just really, really chilling and warm. And she's the perfect combination of spicy and sweet. I still really want to go see Dr. Cornel West speak sometime.
Mm-hmm. And you probably will have an opportunity in this political season.
Please, I hope so. I hope he just stops by Virginia so I can just pull up on him. And I saw that somebody had posted recently, I think it's because his birthday had passed, I could be wrong, but Jesse Jackson,
for sure.
Him speak a couple of times. This is a picture of my family and I. I'm that one.
Hey.
That's you in the Santa hat?
Yes. Glasses and everything. And that's Cameron back there standing next to him. So all of these trees, all of these monuments that actually are living amongst us is really a privilege. So I think what you said, Myra, is right, that we should actually not take advantage or I think get so accustomed to living amongst history. We should actually witness it,
Yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is, like, there's going to be like 50 years from now, like, who do you want to see before it's too late? Be like 21 Savage. Lil Yachty. If you don't see Lil Yachty before it's too late, there's a problem with you.
I don't want to talk to you.
Is Boosie still alive? Is Boosie? No, not Boot. Not Boot.
Boosie.
That's another good one. That's another good one. I would love to see for folks to see him. And there's just so many. So Yolanda, do we have any suggestions there? Oh, Pinky Jameson's on Facebook, Celine Dion, and
She
that's
isn't
another.
well now. She
She
isn't.
yeah,
Yes,
she is.
she had some health challenges.
She's not that old,
Right.
but she has had an unusual health challenge, and so seeing her, if you go to Vegas or wait for her to travel the country, it's not likely to happen. That girl on YouTube says, "I'd like to see the Rolling Stones before it's too
Oh,
late."
that's a good one.
It's
Me
not
too.
too late
Not too late.
already.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not too late. They
yeah.
are still.
Somebody
They're out there.
They have a new
Somebody-
album coming out.
Yeah.
They have a new album coming out this month.
Right.
A whole new album, the Rolling Stones.
And let me just say, it doesn't matter where you see them, if you see them live. But I will say that our former boss had an opportunity to see them in Havana, and that was when they
Me
performed
too.
the Rolling
I
Stones.
didn't know he was there.
Yeah, he
Wow.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't see him trying to do the Mick walk on stage. But so that's. I'm not saying you have to go around the world to see him, but that is certainly your choice of places to see if you want to, and that would appeal to Kwynn too, needing to get to Cuba as quickly as
I was
possible.
going to say exactly.
Janae Brown on YouTube. I want to see George Benson. Yeah, that's a good one too.
He had a live album come out like within the last 2 years or so, because I bought it. It was good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good one. I don't know if I've ever seen George Benson. Oh, I take it back. I had a date to take me to see George Benson. Don't want to talk about that.
And by the way, and what was the date's name? George?
Aren't they always?
Somebody mentioned Charlie Wilson.
That was too easy.
I totally forgot Uncle Charlie. Yeah,
Uncle Charlie, absolutely, sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Uncle Charlie. And the Gap Band.
Yeah.
I would love to see, him. And
the brothers are gone.
So. I know, but there's still some really good members of the Gap Band, right? The Wilson brothers, not here, but definitely some really great members. Those are and such wonderful people too.
Yeah, we had so much fun with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian had one, Yolanda, The Whispers. Yes, that's another good one. Yeah.
I just saw them.
They lost Nick Caldwell, right?
Yeah. He was the choreographer, with the beard. Yeah.
And wrote the song From Your Head to Your Toes. Yeah. Love that song. But that is a good one too, Brian. Absolutely. And so let's think about, as Kwynn has given us, broaden it a little bit, not just the musical acts, but who are those important people in our culture? Either writers or politicians. Or I'm gonna say that the last time, it wasn't the first time I met Reverend Jackson, but the last time that I saw him was right before we were shut down for the pandemic. And we went to Chicago and interviewed him, and it was really quite something to see him in that place as in his years of decline, but just still, once he gets warmed up, he's still got it. And if you have the opportunity to go, and now he promises he's going to still be out there speaking and maybe even politicking for people now that he has left Operation Push, but Rainbow Push Coalition, I should say. But please go see him. Juvenile too, Critic Chronicles on YouTube. Pat Benatar, a good one. Lester Bailey on Facebook. Yeah. Let's go see some of those female masters that were not interviewed by Jan Wenner. Anthony Sanders says Mace on Facebook. Yeah, that's a good one too. And let's go Maze and Frankie Beverly.
You gotta see Juvenile.
They gotta get back together again, I guess.
Yeah.
That part. Yeah.
That part. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Steve?
Just by the time you go see Juvenile and you're a little bit too old, when you stay back that thing up, you're gonna need a wheelchair to do it. That's all.
And back that thing is your hover around. Yeah.
Who I toured with the Women's Empowerment Tour, and she's a very good speaker, Susan Taylor.
Yeah.
Formerly
And I think that Susan Taylor has been away for a while, and people don't. I don't know if it's fair to say people don't remember the power of Susan Taylor and she's quite a wordsmith and, as you said, a speaker. But remember, every month we used to get those editorials in Essence magazine, and she's fiery, she's feisty, and she is always about the women. She's down for the girls. So
Yeah.
that's a really good suggestion, Myra. Absolutely. Absolutely. Brenda Brooks Perry on YouTube, Tom Joyner Cruz. Okay. Well, you got one more chance. You got one more chance, from what I understand. So
This is the final cruise.
you got one more chance. As far as I know, this may be it. So you might want to get your pennies together for your mama to go.
This is such a good heads up, because I guess Bobby now. Gonna have to.
I think that would be a really great thing. As you mentioned, Cornel West is, but I got to tell you, and we see him, I watch him every week on television, and that's Skip Gates, Dr. Henry Louis Skip Gates. I think he is one of the most brilliant storytellers, and the way that he lays his stories out in his books and telling the story of our people. If you can go and hear him in a lecture, just mind-boggling.
Did y'all read? I think it was this week. Kerry Washington and Harry Lewis' story.
Yes.
Real quick. Henry Louis
No. We don't have time. Please. Hold on. I'm sorry.
I could have done that in 15 seconds.
No, I've heard Ben say that before.
No, go ahead. That's all right.
That's
men say that all the time, and usually true. So let's move to trending. And we'll get to you and to Kwynn. Let's talk about Myra J. Where are you appearing soon?
Oh, next Wednesday, October 4th, at the brand new Perfect Note in Marietta. I'm opening up for a guy named J. Anthony Brown. October 4th in Marietta, Georgia. So I probably won't be here next Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Thanks for telling us. Okay, unless you want to get there and broadcast from backstage, I don't see that happening. Yeah, absolutely. So that is next week in Marietta, Georgia, and hopefully you'll be able to watch us and then go see Myra and Jay.
And that Saturday, October 7th in Stockbridge, I'm hosting an event at Eagles Landing Community Center. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Raising money for the community. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Very cool. Young Kwynn, where are you going to be?
Oh,
what you doing?
I'm really not doing nothing. You're
going to be in a classroom tomorrow.
I'm really just trying. I think I want to get a PhD. So my mind is like on academia and scholarship. But I will say my grandmother's 80th birthday is coming up. So if you would like to see a performance or donate to my Cash App, you can do that for her. And you can hit me up on the side if you want to know. But that's true.
When is your grandmother's birthday?
October 10th.
November 10th or October 10th. Songbird going to be?
Shantae Moore will be in New Orleans on October 6th on a rooftop at the Ashe. It's the Ash or Ashe Center of New Orleans. Somebody from New Orleans will know. And I will be appearing as Kerry Washington's daddy in Henry Louis Gates's.
You were gonna bring it in, and that's where I was gonna ask you after you saved Shantae's appearances. Talk about her conversation about her book, Thicker Than Water. I don't know if anybody who saw her on the special with Robin Roberts or have read the book already or seen some excerpts in People magazine or in Golfing magazine. I don't know, but she's everywhere. And so, Stephen Hill, please tell the story about how Henry Louis Skip Gates moved the ball along in order for her parents to let her know about who her father is.
So Henry Louis Gates, who's found ancestry for some of your favorite people, Questlove, I think Barack Obama did it. I was doing that for Kerry Washington, and so you go to the nearest relatives, and so they went to Kerry Washington's parents and said, "Hey, we need your DNA so we can get further information." And they said, "Spit in his cup," and they was like, "Do we have to really?" And they
Can we ask you a question before we do?
Yes, right.
Suppose.
Hypothetically, we spit in his cup. Could you tell if we're really Kerry's parents? Long story short, turns out the person that Kerry believed was her father for years was not her biological father.
Right.
And she said she always felt a certain kind of disconnect from him, but just thought it was her. There's love there, but there was a disconnect, and it turns out that this man was actually not her biological father, though he did raise her as his daughter. And so that's
yeah. This has generated a conversation between Yolanda and me, because Yolanda grew up, adoring her father. I did not have the lifelong relationship with my dad. He died when I was a very little girl, but I was just, wondering about fathers and daughters, or fathers and sons, and those relationships. And Kwynn, I was also going to ask you about your thoughts on, since you mentioned it last week before we finished, about fatherhood and Kirk Franklin, his documentary. I was wondering if you all had seen that.
I have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good.
Intense.
Yeah, it's only 30 minutes.
35 minutes. Yeah.
It's a short doc. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suggest everybody should see it.
Mhm.
I didn't know it had anything to do with the album. I really watched it with the intention of seeing
Mhm.
how he was going to reconcile the relationship with his son. But it actually starts off with Kirk Franklin's own story, who I didn't know was adopted, and come to find out at his mother's sister's funeral, there was a man who told a family friend that, like, hey, like, I used to date Kirk's mom. And that's when everybody was like, huh, like, I wonder if your dad was whatever. So that man named Rick took a DNA test, mailed it to Kirk. Kirk was like, fine, I'll take another one. Because he talks about how he just growing up, being in the spotlight for so long, so many men have come forward saying
And
that
the man that his mother told him was his father, he had
Right.
connected with him. The man died of cancer.
Mhm.
And so he, was like, well,
Assumed his
thought I
father
knew
was
him.
dead.
Right,
Yeah.
because his understanding, his father already did die, right?
Yeah.
Myra. So he took the DNA test, not thinking that it was going to come out positive, but it came out positive that this was his father.
99.999. Yes.
So he,
And the mother denied it.
that's the crazy, disgusting part. I don't know why she did that. She did that a few times. She went in an additional DNA test, and they took the extra DNA test, and she still was like, I don't know what's wrong with these tests, but he's not your dad. And I'm like, girl, what are you?
I don't know what you need.
Welcome to a student from the Donald Trump School of Truth. If you believe it, it's going to be truth. I don't know, 99.9%, 99.999%. What you're saying is there's a chance.
Where's that point? 0.00001.
There is an old saying that says, are you going to believe me or your lying eyes?
You got it. That's pretty much what his mama was saying.
Yeah.
And he hasn't talked to her since. And I
Yeah.
think it's been like coming up on a year or so. And so they show him telling his son that, like, his grandfather's actually alive, because his son thought that the son
grandfather was dead. Yeah.
Right.
So they have had a fractious relationship.
Yes. So it was it's beautiful, it's heartwarming, and it's also just has you think about your own type of, not family relationships, but just like, he talks about how, like, when we're so normalized by our trauma that we don't know what, like, healing even feels like, that we don't know what it feels like. And I'm like, wow, like, as Black people, as Black men, to see some people, to see him so emotional was really, really good.
Very emotional, very dramatic. And I was just, and Steven, did you watch it?
I have not seen it yet. Where is it? It's
on YouTube.
YouTube.
People who are asking, it's on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah.
It's about Father's Day. Father's Day.
I'm not sure how I'm going to formulate this, but I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion if we can get Kirk to talk about it, and to get a group of us to talk about this particular situation. So thank you for initiating that discussion, Kwynn. And let's talk about some craziness. Yesterday, Target announced that they're going to be closing 9 stores because of thefts. They have lost millions of dollars in Seattle, in Portland, in Harlem. They highlighted these 9 particular cities, and Harlem was the one that came to mind for a lot of us in New York City. But you don't think about Seattle or Portland and how difficult the things are there, but and in the Bay as well. But just as this word is coming out, then there's a report of mad looting in Philadelphia area stores, and a group of young looters created havoc in Philadelphia Tuesday night, stealing from several stores in this looting spree. They say that the crowds outnumbered responding officers as they went from store to store in Center City, lifting merchandise and stuffing it in large plastic bags. They hit a Foot Locker and an Apple store near 15th and Chestnut. I know where that is, as well as the Lululemon in Rittenhouse Square. And they're accused of assaulting a security guard at a shoe store. At least 15 people. That seems rather low compared to all the people that were involved in the looting. But
Like 100 people that they said just bum rushed all these stores.
yeah, yeah, and they said that some of the policemen were able to stop them and use clever ways of stopping, like putting a bicycle in the area of the revolving door, so they could not get out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's may have been how they arrested some. But what is this? What is going on in our? It's almost like back in the day when I was younger and we traveled outside of the country and they said, "Where are you from?" "You're from Chicago," and go gangsters and all of this violence and stuff. And now it's just so disturbing to see the looting and people. They lock up toothpaste, one man said. Where do they? We were in Baltimore last year, and Yolanda went to get some water and it was behind the counter. The most normal day-to-day products that you don't think need to be locked up. I thought it was bad when they were locking up the condoms, but now it's like, this is crazy. What are your thoughts on this?
So there's a few things that I guess I'm seeing some things in the comment that some of the looting was in conjunction with an officer being let off.
That's what they said, and they said it was not. So, and I didn't even include that in the story because we hadn't covered that. But yeah, I will say that they said that it was in conjunction, as you said, Stephen Hill, over a protest over a judge's decision to drop charges against a cop who fatally shot Eddie Irizarry, according to police. They said the police said it was unrelated to the judge's decision.
Right. But either way, there's looting happening everywhere. I think two things: social media makes this much easier to do, and I feel kind of popular. Desperate times and desperate measures, and people just realizing like police can't be everywhere all at once, and so they are willing to take the chance because they're not hearing about or seeing many people being taken to task or being, getting in trouble for doing these actions. So they're going to do them until they do.
So Kwynn, you are a young person and you are in contact with young people every day. What are your thoughts on this?
I have changed the way I look on violence, and I do believe violence begets violence. And I think when we're not taking into consideration, unfortunately, which I think what happens a lot of times with young people when they have been like kind of dehumanized and just stripped to this idea of like being a criminal, is that we're not looking at like what is going on at home and also like what is their nutritional like diet like socially. And I think with all of these shootings that we see on like news and like all these other violent offenders, politicians that are like getting away with like just excreting like harmful and like distasteful things. I think there isn't enough resources clinically and psychologically to also be there for children during this time. And I think therefore the idea that you could get away or that you should steal seems right because everything else in the world seems so wrong. Wow. And so I understand like this cynical, righteous, almost kind of narcissistic type of view on like property from a young person's mindset, because when you see everybody else get away with all these other things, it's almost just like, why not? And I think also as a Black person growing up on the South Side of Chicago, and I know people on both sides of the gun, sometimes you literally are faced with a wall and you don't have any other choices. And I think that is the reason why, like as an abolitionist, I'm always looking at like not the carceral institutions, not prisons and jails for some type of remedy. I'm looking for an actual solution in our schools. I'm looking at a solution in our food, right? I'm looking at a solution in like the fact that we need Targets in our neighborhoods and that we need stores and that we need parks and like trees and like students need to go on trips. Like my students I'm taking to the play, some of them have never even seen a play before. And these are 19-year-old students, Black, Latinx, and white. So I think it's just a note to say like some of these young people, they're not just born wrong, but sometimes they're born in a society that is wrong. So what do you think about that?
Myra, I'm sorry if I cut you off there, and you look like you have something.
It's a multifaceted problem, as Kwynn stated, but I do want to also just mention Black fathers matter.
Mhm.
Black fathers definitely matter. Black men in our community matter. There has been such a destruction of the Black family. Coming up back in the day, heck yeah, we were poor. We came up in poor neighborhoods. But Mr. So-and-so, who was the janitor, and notice I said Mr. So-and-so, we knew he was the janitor down at the school or down at the factory, but that was still Mr. Johnson. And we respected him as Mr. Johnson. And we really need to bring back how important it is to bring back and emphasize that Black love and that Black respect in our homes and in our communities.
And I remember the time that somebody that I knew did get in trouble, and my mother said, if you ever find yourself in that position and you're in jail, lose my number. She said, because I'm not gonna. I've taught you, I've raised you to, be a law-abiding citizen, and I'm not going to get you out of jail. If you've done this, then you're going to do the time.
It takes a village, but back in the day, be it right or wrong, that's how we was raised. If Miss So-and-so saw you, you said what?
Right.
She would spank you, bring you'd be tired by the time you got home because you already got 2 whippings. Okay. Just from the community looking out for you.
That's
Absolutely.
Right. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. We have not able to talk about my favorite story of this week, and the fact that Colin Kaepernick wrote a letter to the general manager of the New York Jets, said, just let me lead your practice squad. You need to have your quarterback in shape to lead them in the loss of Aaron Rodgers, and he's still waiting for a return.
Yeah, that letter was about coming on the team and busting Zach Wilson's ass. He's just trying to make it seem like, so I just want to practice squad play,
and that's okay. Okay.
I'm here to support Zach Wilson.
And I love it. Whatever way is going to get him back out on the field, and I would support whatever team hires him. That's where I am.
Come get this Super Bowl tested quarterback. Come on. Zach Wilson, Pop Warner. Me, Super Bowl, but I'll support him. I got this.
Okay. Let me move to entertainment, and as we know, Usher Baby is going to be the Super Bowl halftime entertainment. Speaking of Super Bowl,
headliner. He's going to be the headliner.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So as one who knows how this goes, what are your thoughts on what that show will look like, Steve?
He's gonna have a lot of guests. Usher is going to make his already great catalog seem even bigger with the guests. Is
it going to be big like the guest from last year in the hip hop anniversary show?
Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about Rihanna. I was like, Rihanna had no guests.
Oh, I'm sorry, the year before.
No, it'll be like, remember, Usher has songs with David Guetta, Lil Jon, Ludacris, Justin Bieber. People forget this, but Alicia Keys. Usher did a TV program once and had Beyonce come out not to sing, but just dance while he did Bad Girl. Right. Beyonce popped out and danced while he did Bad Girl and then disappeared.
Who's the fellow that hired him to do the headline, the halftime show? That would be Beyonce's. That would be Beyonce's husband.
Wait. Oh yes.
Rock Nation,
yes.
Right?
That is a correct guess. Yes.
So I was going to say that the upcoming halftime show has some people geeked already because his music has been played like crazy in the days since the news broke. The numbers are said to be pretty staggering. Billboard reported that Usher's tunes, new and old, have seen a significant spike across all streaming services since the announcement was made Sunday, and the increased plays are tipping into the millions.
Hey now.
So he's the headliner and not the halftime performer?
No, he is. Well, he'll headline the halftime.
During halftime. Yeah.
The point is, unlike Rihanna, who was by herself last year, she was the halftime performer.
Right.
Usher's the halftime headliner, which I'm pretty sure means there'll be more guests Usher will have a guest.
Okay, got you. Okay, cool.
But
Thank you.
Rihanna had the most important guest in her show.
The
baby. That's right.
What's she called? What's the name? Baby's name? What's the baby's name?
Riot.
Something
Riot.
Rose.
Riot.
Rose.
Riot. That's right.
Riot Rose.
Riot is
Yeah.
cute.
Riot Rose.
Riot Rose.
Yeah.
Love it.
Or
And
as we like to
RZA.
call
And
her.
the oldest boy's name is RZA.
That's cute.
Cute.
Aura.
Let's move to Yogi's Jewel, the daily inspiration. Work on having fun in all of your daily activities. So inhale fun. What does fun smell like? And exhale misery.
Fermented grapes.
Inhale fun, exhale misery. Yeah, get rid of misery. Okay. Thank you guys. Had a great time. I appreciate you. Kwynn, have a brilliant day at school. Myra, we'll miss you next week. And Stephen Hill, the best to you and the missus.
Go get the Cassidy book. Go get the Cassidy. What's her last name book? The guy, the Trump. Go get the Cassidy book. She and see her when she does an interview. She's poised. You know she's telling the truth.
Cassidy Hutchinson.
Yes.
Cassidy Hutchinson.
Yes.
Cassidy.
We'll talk about her next week. I promise.
Yes. Another
King
name for her book
Cassidy.
is Hot Mess.